I hope you all are doing great this morning. My name is Leon Morales. I'm the President, Chief Energy Officer here at DNA Behavior, and it's a pleasure to have you join us today. Hugh and I have been running the Energy of Money series over this really since November, and we've had just a lot of fun doing it, and really in different interest areas. This one's particularly really resonates with both of us, certainly with Hugh, because he started DNA Behavior over 23 years ago. And we know that entrepreneurs really are kind of a unique breed to start with. But for the last 23 years, DNA Behavior has done a lot of extensive research on what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. You can see here on the screen, there are 5 traits that really make a great entrepreneur. And we've done a lot of studies on this. So resiliency, the ability to sort of bounce back. Risk-taking, of course, would be part of that. Creativity, work ethic and focus. External charisma, which really to sell what your idea is. Those are all really important factors to be able to sort of use with being an entrepreneur, really the growth. But in today's world, in the modern entrepreneurial world, those traits may not be enough. And what we're going to talk about today is not only it does take a certain amount of financial acumen and fiscal literacy to really make those high stake decisions in your business and growing that, but you also have to remember that your family is part of this as well. It's not just about you, it's about sort of bringing the family along as well. So your ability to allocate capital, manage expectations with your family, enhance wealth creation, those are all elements that are very unique to an entrepreneur. And it's more than just about the money. We're talking about entrepreneurs improving their relationship with money. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is building money energy. And Hugh's been really, he's smiling because it's been such an exciting topic for us. But it's not just a concept, it's an actual science, and it's documented in our white paper that we released last year. And Hugh's going to introduce us to the methodology and break it down. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Hugh, and we're excited about the program, Hugh. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. I don't know what else there is for me to say. You nailed it all for me.
I think you've got lots to say. And I do want to make sure that everybody knows there's a Q&A box there at the bottom screen. Please use that to ask any questions. They may be answered by a couple of us on the team, or we'll just save it to the end and he will be able to answer it if it's something that benefits everyone.
Well, as a lot of you know, I'm around a lot of entrepreneurs all the time, particularly through my membership in Entrepreneurs Organization, which is coming on 24 years now, and more recently the Abundance 360 group that I'm in. And when the subject of money comes up, it's very interesting seeing how people are triggered. And really, in a way, any subject comes up, it's always fascinating how money seems to come into it, even though we're not always conscious about it. And that somewhat happened to me about 2 months ago. I was at a meeting place early and at the Buckhead Club in Atlanta, and waiting for somebody to come and see me about an hour later. And a friend walked up to me and just sat down, and we started chatting. And he's an entrepreneur friend as well. And in fact, I'd done a presentation with him last year about entrepreneurial talents and talking to budding entrepreneurs as to whether they should become an entrepreneur. And and my message to them was always, don't do it for the money, and consider whether being an entrepreneur will make you happy, successful, and healthy. And that brought up for my friend, who I'll call Sam for the purposes of today, the question of he's got a money lending funds management type business, hedge fund business, and he's concerned about the state of the financial markets, what's going to happen, and whether he should capitalize on the opportunity that potentially a downturn brings, or pull back. And of course, pulling back, which was what he was thinking of doing, would significantly reduce his income. It would reduce the capital risk as well. And then the conversation descended into how does his wife feel about all of this? And his wife is a successful professional in her own right. Of course, there's always risk in anything that you do, but probably her life is not as risky as his. But, you know, with kids to school, vacation expectations, other life expectations, if his income is not at the same levels for a couple of years, and she's got to pony up more money to fund the family lifestyle and needs, how's that all going to go down? And you know, it sort of led from one question to the other, and it certainly brings out the complexity financially for entrepreneurs, where you're on the end of everything in your business. A lot of the time, employees don't quite see always all of the responsibilities that you have on a 24/7 basis, and sometimes even the spouse doesn't. And you know, these are very challenging situations, conversations, but they are absolutely real ones that need to be had. And there are so many different conversations that are in here. But for my friend, this was causing him a lot of stress and pressure. And which way did he go with the business? What discussion does he have at home with his spouse? He's also got to have the conversations with investors as well. So there, you know, there are many issues at stake, and so this is, you know, somewhat what, you know, we are going to be addressing today, because, you know, the energy of money, which I will get into more, does cause enormous pressure and stress on people's lives. And you know, I think that for an entrepreneur, one of the areas that's, you know, very important is decision making, because you are responsible for all the decisions that you make in the business, and you are responsible also for the decisions that others working with you make it as well. And you know, making sound financial decisions in the business is something that you know, I've seen quite a lot of entrepreneurs stumble with, and that's fair enough, because not everybody who becomes an entrepreneur is financially trained. I suppose I was lucky, or maybe unlucky in some ways, that I was an accountant first, so I at least understand financial data, balance sheets, cash flow, profitability. So I've got a reasonably high degree of fiscal literacy. But that is an area that is very important for an entrepreneur to get a handle on, is just outright to be fiscally literate. And this is what I would call the first dimension of money, because it's dealing with money as a currency. But every decision that you make as an entrepreneur comes from a place. It comes from a motivation. It comes from a belief, or from perspectives. And that is really what we're talking about, is your financial behavior. There's also emotions involved as well, you know, and that's the financial EQ, you know, and in going further, you've got to unpack, you know, where these deeper motivations come from. Is it what's hardwired into you from early in life? Is it what you've learned? How do you capitalize on opportunities? So this is the part that, you know, we need to spend a little bit more time on, is really around your consciousness of what money is. And that's a lot of my why in life, is to help people become self-empowered through a greater level of money consciousness. And as I've already said, there's one dimension of money, which is money as a currency. And that's often what accountants and professionals and financial advisors working with clients, coaches talk about. The next level is your financial behavior. And your financial behavior in some ways is multidimensional because there's hardwired behaviors and then there is learned behaviors. And if I just address the financial behavior for a moment, if you have all the traits that Leon was talking about before, certainly the resilience, risk-taking, creativity, the pioneering drive, being charismatic, if you allow those traits to take over, they will be great for accelerating growth in the business. It can be boom or bust. What comes with those traits is the growth, pioneering aspects, the risk-taking. But also, a lot of the time, those people or those types of entrepreneurs are spenders. And they will spend a lot of money in the business and they will spend a lot of money at home or in their personal life, on life experiences, on cars, toys, whatever, to maintain an image. This is just what comes with the territory. It's not a criticism. It's just a reality. So spending is a problem potentially also, in terms of more behavioral bias language. They can be very optimistic and very overconfident in the decision making. So for an entrepreneur, it is important to get conscious of what your style is because it can influence the outcome from you very greatly. And it's not just what happens in the business, it's also the flow-on impact to what happens to you potentially at home and in all the other areas of your life. So you've really got to have this very much sorted out. And this brings up then the next topic in here is around your relationship to money. What does money actually mean to you? What kind of relationship are you building with it? How are you, your relationship to money sort of somewhat dictates how you earn it, spend it, save it, invest it, and actually give it as well. And your relationship to money at the end of the day, I believe should be foundationally built on your identity. And that's why I've got identity over here. If you are clear about, why you are an entrepreneur, I think that's a foundational question that needs to be asked. How you want to be seen in the world, how you want to be measured, what your purpose is. That's the place to make decisions from, and certainly that's the best way to come at what your relationship to money is, so that you can make optimal decisions in your life. And the other part that's needs to be, talked about here is your health, happiness, mental state, and even your heart. And there are stories out there of real life stories out there of great entrepreneurs that have died way before their time. Steve Jobs is one such case. And, there's no doubt that he's had a huge impact on the world. We all, or most of us, are using Apple phones and devices. And he transformed the way we live. But what was the cost to him? And was he really happy as well? And I think we know his health state. There's people like Tony Sia. And then you go down to entrepreneurial friends that I've even got. I was alarmed last year when I went to an entrepreneurs organization event, and I was seeing some people I hadn't seen in a while and some new people. And the stories that were coming up around their health and the fact that they hadn't been sleeping for more than 2 or 3 hours a night for many years, and what that was doing to their heart and general longevity. And I think it's problematic. So there's a lot of things that an entrepreneur needs to get a grip on, and money is at the epicenter of it. So I've talked about 2 dimensions of money being a currency, and then outright the financial behavior aspect of it in terms of money is, based on, a lot of how you deal with money, or what you think money is based on your life perspective. But money also has an enormous impact on your life. And I think that started to come out already in this presentation. If you think about it, in what situation have any of you been in where money has not been there? Whether it's in conversations, just in feelings, sitting there in your stomach, or actually when you go to sleep. And I used to, in the 1990s, I used to run around a little bit as a party joke, saying money never sleeps. Now, I knew the realism of that from one dimension, that if you have money, save it and invest it, it will grow. And there's lots of good life principles about that. But the other aspect of it is your mindset about money, and the mindset that you take to sleep at night. And if you believe in manifestation, if you believe in the quantum laws of living, what you take to sleep is what you're going to wake up with. A lot happens actually in your sleep. There's a lot of science around that. If you take negative thoughts about money to sleep, and you're stressed about money when you go to sleep, it's going to impact your sleep, but it's also going to impact what happens to you in your life. And this is, again, coming back to where you need to have a positive relationship to money. But the sort of the general energy, I think what I'm trying to bring up is that the energy of money, it's very powerful, it's very quiet, but it's always with you. And it is a major energy source in your life, as much as food is, getting enough exercise, and just general mental health. So think of it in those perspectives. So there's really, three dimensions of money. Again, the currency being a currency, just outright being behavioral, and then it being energetic. And I do want to, push home the point that when you take those 3 dimensions of money, they can cause enormous stress. And the problem with stress is that it causes an inflammation of all of your bodily organs, which at a minimum will accelerate aging and diseases, and ultimately potentially your life demise. So stress is something that is really important to learn to manage. And I've had to do a lot of work on this for myself over the last few years. And I think since around 2018, I've made a lot of life changes, business changes, how I mentally approach things, so that I keep the stress levels down. And some of you who know me, and certainly in our team, we're all measuring our stress levels on a regular basis, and taking very good care of our health. And I think it really does really bring up the issue that money is a major health issue. And it's a major longevity issue that's out there. Yes, there's lots of cures now for all of us to live longer, but if you don't get to the functional cause of the problem, some of them will be probably useless, or only have marginal benefit and just sort of keep you alive, rather than you having a enjoyable life. And so I think as an entrepreneur, working on management of stress is very important, and money is a very big part of that stress. And again, it's money as a currency, but it's also money as a mindset, just sort of keeping it very simple. So a lot of what we've been doing at DNA Behavior in the last year, 15 months or so, is working on how do you quantify money energy? Because it's one thing to talk about it, but I think for me, being more of a realist and a functionalist in life, I want to have some measurement of it, because that takes the problem from being invisible to visible. And so here's the definition of money energy that we have. And so it's about the power and capacity to generate wealth. It's not whether you actually have it or not, or going to have a lot of it. It's about it. What we're getting at here is about your capacity to generate it. And if you follow sort of what comes next in terms of the rules of the game, or what we call the quantum laws that we have designed, then you can set yourself up for great success in your life. So the money energy is not necessarily how much you're going to have. It's about your infinite potential. But that's what you've got to set up to create the opportunity to actually have it flow into your life later on. So we address money energy through a behavioral lens, and all of us have a starting point with how much money energy we have based on who we are and the first 7 years of our life. So, if we take it that your money energy is tied to your mind and to your behavior, what is built into your subconscious mind, or the hard wiring, is shaped by the time you're 7 years old. So all of you have had a series of life experiences from the point of being conceived through to the point of 7 years old that shape your hard wiring. This is more than the DNA genetics. It's also the environmental experience that you had. And for a lot of us, it's the subconscious mind that particularly under pressure. And this is why I got into all of this in the first place 23 years ago, when I was a wealth manager, and previously to that being an accountant. It's the subconscious mind that takes over when we're under pressure. And guess what causes pressure? Stress. And so without consciousness, your subconscious is going to drive a lot of the decision making and in fact how you deal with money. And that's been the fundamental premise of DNA Behavior for the last 23 years. And for those of you that know us, we've been very good at and reliable at measuring the behavioral strand, if you want to call it that, or the financial behavior strand. But when you understand the DNA double helix in a bit more depth, you will know that there are actually two strands, and the two strands mirror each other. And this is where we have unpacked how the behavior strand is mirrored by the energy strand. So in a financial behavior setting, some people will have a behavior that drives them to be very outgoing, for example. That will then transcend into potentially a lot of spending of money. And so that's, what's energetically what's going to happen. Or if you're someone like me who is high on risk-taking, that could transcend itself out into, being energetically very venturesome. Or you're a pioneer, very goal-driven. That can come out into an energy that is over-optimistic about situations. So they work together. And so we've been able to effectively measure the money energy through the behavior. And of course, we do this extremely, reliably because of the structure of our system. So just in unpacking this a little bit more, for those of you that know us, the first part of what we address, and Leon somewhat started off with this, is your behavioral talents. And, depending on your style, so the entrepreneurs tend to be the initiators and the influencers. The resilience tends to be up here. The risk taking is in here. The creativity, not necessarily. The creativity is often sitting here. It just depends. The charisma, sits across the top here. But I think if you looked at it and said, most of the entrepreneurs that we know, and we've done a lot of research with it, they're sitting across the top three profiles here, being the initiator, influencer, and engager. And this is also where, I alluded to before, that it comes through in certain financial behaviors. But I am not saying also that if you are not in the top layer here of behavioral styles, that you can't be an entrepreneur. So long as you've got one of those talents that Leon's referring to, you can be very successful. And I will bring up a case study a little bit later on, where an entrepreneur is one of the most successful entrepreneurs that I know is actually a relationship builder, but he was extremely creative. So that's where that came from him. But if we take the same and look at it, across the way at the money behavior influences, you can start to see, what I was getting at before, that for those who are the entrepreneurs, there will be potentially a lot of growth, but there can also be a lot of crash if they don't get it right. And this is where, understanding money as a currency, but also understanding your behavior with it, the energetic forces sitting around it, is extremely important if you're going to be successful. Because, I think we all know one bad decision, you can be spending years cleaning it up if you survive it. And I've always said to people, if 8 out of 10 decisions can be good, as an entrepreneur, really, and for anybody, you'll do pretty well in life, so long as there is not one that is absolutely catastrophic that you make that completely takes you out of the game. But, again, all of that is behavioral, because you are the one that makes the decision. So our measurement formula, and it's been based on Einstein's measurement of energy, his sort of quantum measurements. So we've packaged it up that the first part is your money relationship integration. This is the foundation, if you want to call it that. And it's made up from your natural financial behaviors. So this is the hardwired behaviors that are shaped wired into you by the time you're 7 years old. In particular, in here, there are the components of saving, the ability to take risk, and your goal drive. So that makes up the natural financial behavior capability. And that's really 50% of this. And then there's the learned financial behaviors. So what conscious choices have you learned to make in your life? And then there's a component we call quality life, which is how you have integrated money across all areas of your life. Because, if you've built a healthy relationship to money, which is foundational to having good money energy, you need to have integrated money to every aspect of your life. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. So this is the foundation. And if you get this foundation right, then it's likely that you're going to be able to create more opportunities. So the opportunities is squared. It is exponential. So on a relative basis, the numbers are much, the exponential increase, if you want to call it that, in your money energy is coming from the opportunities. But the opportunities don't really happen if you haven't got the money relationship integration right. So this is the most important piece. But if you've got this part right, and then you have built financial flexibility and built your human capital, then you can have exponential growth or wealth creation in your life, potentially. Of course, that's whether the potential turns into actuality is, yes, is determined by opportunities, but is also determined by the conscious choices that you make in the moment. And that's really the quantum living principles that you need to adopt. So a part that is very important to all of this is your quality life performance discovery. So this is an additional diagnostic that DNA Behavior has over and above the natural behavior discovery. And what we're unpacking in here is how you see your life across eight key areas here. And of course, if you self-rate yourself 7 on everything, that would mean being high. And when you go down from there, then there's potential areas of stress. So, for example, here for Anna Summer, this case study here, she only rates her health a 4.2. So that is implying, and you can look at it in the spider graph, that is implying her health and her community involvement here are potential problems and stresses in her life. They might be impacting her happiness, and clearly her health, and maybe she is not integrated money across all areas of her life. She hasn't got her time management right. Her life is out of equilibrium. This will overall affect her money energy. And then there are the 26 money energy opportunities that we measure. 13 of them are relatively financial, so they're financial flexibility. So it's sort of some of the obvious ones, like having positive surplus cash flow, not being constrained by debt, having sort of black swan planning for your life so that you protect yourself against unknown events that might come up that are surprise. You're well diversified. So a lot of this is financial planning to some degree, and then there's the human capital side of it. So how do you use your talents? Having clarity of your identity, what money means, being educated, having a choice of career paths or ways to earn money. Some of this is mental management down here. How you manage relationship networks is extremely important. All of this can set you up to have more opportunities from which to create wealth. So if we look at this in some case studies just to help bring this to life, and we've got this guy here, Mike Tudor, who's I've changed his name, but he's an influencer style. So if you go back to the pie charts I showed you before, he's at the top of the shelf there. He's an influencer, very visionary, high growth driven type entrepreneur. Risks are that he would overspend. He's going to invest in growth and can be very overconfident, but he also can lack discipline. And this is what I was getting back to before, that for him to survive and thrive as an entrepreneur, he needs to be very conscious of money, not only in the literacy sense or the first dimension of money as a currency, but in terms of his mindset, because he could be a very emotional decision maker. He's going to take potentially a lot of risks. Does he understand the risks he's taking? And he can be very instinctive, intuitive about it, and not look at the data and the detail. So he's going to need a very good team around him to keep balance in the decision making, if they can control him. And also, just being this very driven person, he could become very obsessed about business and make a lot of decisions at the expense of his family. He will potentially like all the shiny toys and fast cars and whatnot that might come with success. Potentially measure himself based on, how much money he's made. This is what happens with the influencers if they don't have the coaching and training and the right guidance. Can be very successful, but can also have a big crash as well. That's really what I'm bringing up. Now, in a way, here's my favorite case study, because this is a person, Craig Moon, who's the exact opposite by and large. And, Leon mentioned the talents needed at the start, mentioned the talents at the start needed to be an entrepreneur. Craig really only had one of them, and that was being creative. And he had a very innovative idea at the time for creating a accounting software package for small businesses. And he was smart enough to bring in a heavy-duty sales team, actually full of influencers. And he built an extremely large business. And, he made, a nine-figure sum when he exited his business. So he is the opposite. But he's also a little bit of the person that, even though he's got a lot of money, had a fear of not having enough money. Was extremely cautious about what was done with the money once he got it, as far as his family was concerned. So that was a very big issue for him. And also, while he ran the business, he didn't really like the conflict of having to restructure the business, fire people, make difficult financial choices, because he's a relationship builder. He's a people person. But I think what this brings up from a money energy perspective is that while he didn't have necessarily all the entrepreneurial talents and didn't have the natural money energy through conscious choices, he was able to create it because he knew himself and was able to take those steps. And once he got the money, he has been very clear about his identity and what to do with it to keep equilibrium in his life. And that's why when he goes through the full money energy exercise, he actually comes out with a very high score. Someone like Mike Tudor could come out with an even higher score based on having the natural capacity for it, to natural money energy capacity. But because he's also somewhat all over the place, potentially here, without the discipline, he could deplete his money energy very significantly and cause, quite a lot of problems for his health. And here's a different case study altogether, just to show you what happens. So these are business partners, Judy and John, and Judy is the more driven one here with the darker blue line, and you can see she's a pioneer, risk taker. So she is a full hard charging entrepreneur. John started the business with her. He's a bit more cautious. He has the lower money energy, and they got, the problem that came up for them is they got their business to about 5 million. They worked pretty revenue. They worked pretty well together, making a nice lifestyle. But she wanted to push it for a whole lot more. She wanted to take on a lot of debt in the business, which was going to involve personal guarantees. He did not want to do that. And so you can see what might start to happen there. You know, a lot of tension in that relationship, and ultimately what happened is that Judy bought John out, and he sort of went into retirement and lived a quieter life, and she pushed it along. And now, while she's got a high natural money energy, there's always the tension that she's got to manage around her happiness and health as well. So you can see, you know, there's a lot at stake here. And you know, when you've got a business partnership, or you've got the family partnership, like we were talking about at the start with Sam and his wife, different levels of money energy. You know, there can be clashes, there can be relationship issues, which can all be draining. All of those things need to be brought into equilibrium if you're going to at the end of the day, manage the stress of money. So what is the strongest element impacting your money energy? I've got 10 items here, and there are probably others. Saving money is clearly important. You want to be cash flow positive, being able to you know, to earn money, career earning power, deploying your talents, whether that's an entrepreneur or for your employees. The ability to take risks is important. You learn financial behavior, having conscious discipline over the decisions you might instinctively make. Remember that your natural behavior will prevail unless you have very good conscious discipline. Your relationship with money is fundamental. And believe it or not, and I won't go into this too much today, but your heart is very important. Not only your heart as a pump for keeping you alive, but in actual fact, the heart has a greater intelligence than the brain, and the magnetic forces of the heart are 60 times your brain. And therefore, if you're going to make change in your life, build that right relationship to money, manage your relationships, you need to manage your heart. And that's going to come down to the attitudes that you bring through your heart into your life. Having financial flexibility is absolutely important. But as I said, alluded to before, that doesn't really start to come if you haven't got all of these other things right. Relationship network is very important. I believe lots of opportunities come in life through people. But you've also got to be healthy, and you won't be healthy if you don't sleep, and money has a huge impact on your sleep. So at the end of the day, you've got to get all of these things right if you're going to build your money energy. But I would put in there that the relationship with money is absolutely foundational, and all these other factors here play into it in some way, but they're all interrelated. So how do you amplify the money energy in your life? And it really comes down to transforming your mindset. So it's dealing with the second and third dimensions of money, being your behavior and the energy that forces that come off into your life because of your behavior and the behavior of others, and how you decide to process that behavior. But if I leave you with one thing, to amplify money in your life, build the right relationship with money, you need to get very clear about your identity. How are you going to stand out in the world? How are you going to show up? What kind of person do you want to be? How do you see your impact? What do you want to be accountable for? How do you want to be remembered? This is all life purpose based, but I would say that identity is higher than your life purpose. It is really putting out there how you want to be seen in the world, and that's going to drive all of your decisions. And I know some of you on the call have done identity conversations with me, and that's just the start of getting all of this right in your relationship to money right. You can use the DNA insights, and I think the great thing about DNA behavior is that we help you see, what type of person you are, not only from a talent perspective, but also from a financial behavior perspective. Some of us are a bit more in the mind or a bit more in the head, results driven. I'm one of those. And some of us are a bit more heart orientated, feeling orientated, to the relationship side. Now, the tendency will be for an entrepreneur to be here. The entrepreneurial challenge, the life challenge, is to be more into the heart. And as I said before, the heart is more important than the brain. But ultimately, it's having an equilibrium between both. Knowing as a leader, whether that's in your business, in your family, in the community, when you do need to make a results-based decision, and when do you need to maybe soften it up and make a decision based on feelings, what's right, from an impact perspective. Both have got to be considered, and that's what's going to set you up to make quantum leaps in life. So a lot of what I'm talking to you about today is setting you up to make that quantum leap in your life, not just a linear progression, to make a big jump somewhere in your life and have that exponential success, not just 10x success, but exponential success. And you need to do all of these things to get to that place. So, again, coming back to where I started with that case study around my friend Sam, is you need to be able to talk about money. And money in a way needs to be a comfortable conversation with you. Money doesn't need to be a bragging conversation. I think that's very intimidating. Again, it just needs to be something that is comfortable for you. And I think a lot of that conversation and the way we teach it is around identity and the vision for your life. And in a way, what you see is the painted picture for your life around your desires, and then what does money mean? But I think if the conversation around money is just comparing yourself to somebody else and what you see about somebody else or perceive about somebody else, that's the biggest risk to your mental health. And that is a big issue for entrepreneurs, because we're all competitive people, and we see somebody out there with a bigger business, a bigger home, bigger car than us, and we think we're not as good as them. But you don't know what's going on in their life. So being able to have healthy money energy conversations with your business partners, community partners, certainly within your family, is all very important. And the other part that I just want to wrap up with today is around longevity. It's a topic I'm very passionate about, because I think, as I've alluded to already, money is such a big part of it. And, there's more and more studies coming out around work being done over the last 20 years, particularly around epigenetics. And if some of you haven't heard about that or studied that, it would be worth you looking at. But it really gets down to the issue of, in context of your longevity, were you born in your DNA to live a long time, or can you make conscious choices in your life to live a long time? If any of you come to our money energy events in the future, you will hear me talking about joining the 120 Club. So I've made a conscious choice to make decisions in my life so that I can live to 120, at least do the best I can on that and enjoy my life. So what I'm saying here is that the conscious decisions that you make can outweigh the genetics. You can change the course of your genetics either by keeping certain genes shut down or closing them down by choices that you make. And money is one of those choices, and what you decide to do about money, and of course your health as well. And just to bring this home a bit more, conference I was recently at, this called Abundance 360, and that's Peter Diamandis there. Longevity was a big conversation. And as I alluded to before, stress causes inflammation of the bodily organs, which will accelerate aging. So what is interesting to look at is, what is your chronological age versus your biological age? And my chronological age, I will disclose it, is 58, just turned 58. But my biological age is 44, or actually 43.75, based on a series of blood tests that I did. So I am quite a way younger, if you want to call it physically, than I am chronologically, which sets me up for longevity. It doesn't guarantee it, but it is because of a lot of steps that I've taken, in my life. And so this is, sort of where I want to wrap up, is that reducing stress is important, but understanding the 4 chambers of your heart is important, and how that flows up, mainly flows up to your brain, not down. And that money energy is one of the big 4 chambers, if you want to call it that, or energy forces in your life, along with food, your body, your physical health, and your mental health. And it's interesting that if you are stressed, it is likely to cause your eating habits to deteriorate, particularly increase in sugar and alcohol. You might do less exercise, which is problematic, and that's going to get your mind in a tangle, and life can go downhill. So money is really important, and getting your relationship to it right. And what we all do at DNA Behavior, and I've got a lot of our clients doing this now, is wearing a device on our wrist or on our finger. I've got 2 of them, being a Whoop band and a Garmin watch, and I am consistently monitoring my stress and doing reflection exercises as to what might cause that stress if it ever comes up. And again, that's where I'm being more conscious about money and its impact on all of my life, so I can build longevity. So, in wrapping up today, it's important to, for me to sort of keep harping on the reduction of stress, make decisions in your life that are going to increase your happiness, success, and health. And it's all 3 of those are really important. And how do you position money in your life to enable that to happen? And just as to wrap up here, we've done a lot of work at DNA Behavior in updating our system in the past 12 months, so that we can bring a more appealing product to you, but also importantly, measure the money behaviors or the financial behaviors side by side with your talent behaviors. And then we've added the money energy pieces in on top. So this is what some of the screens look like. These are our screens now, are totally customizable, so you can have look and feel, what reporting items that you want to have for your business, for your life, any way you want to have it. And there's different shuffle cards with different informations in there that you can draw on, depending on what you want to talk about, whether it's with your clients or with your team. So, following today, what I would encourage you to do is to read our money energy white paper. It will mirror to a large degree what I've said today, although it's not as specific to entrepreneurs, but it'll give you a good understanding. And we will be sending you the link. For those of you who have not done a DNA behavior discovery, we can set you up for a trial. You can just do a one-off trial, or we can set you up to demo the whole system. I write a money energy blog on the 40 quantum laws of money energy. You can sign up for that. And if you want to talk to me or our team about money energy further, potentially get coaching on it for yourself or for someone that you know, please reach out to us. So Leon, if there are any questions, let's take them.
Yeah, I think you actually covered most of them, Hugh. One question was your point on identity, sort of struck with some folks. Do you have any recommended reading? I know you do the identity interviews, and we've always offered that as an opportunity, but any
Yeah.
recommendations on reading to sort of discover that identity?
So there's a book that I tell everybody to read, and it's called The Power of Identity by Bill Wursma. And I think what we'll do is also, if that's a question that a lot of people have had, we'll put a mention of that in the follow-up email, I think, Leon.
Yeah, that's great.
Because that book really provides a great framework for working through what your identity is, so that you see yourself as a human being, not a human doing, and it'll just help you elevate your life. And then everything else that we have at DNA Behavior then falls into place around your talents, building that relationship to money from that.
And then the second question, which we hear often, is, and you covered it with Craig Moon, but somebody that's more relational, their ability to be an entrepreneur. And I think you answered that in that case study very well, but I didn't know if you had anything else to add to, if somebody's a little bit more relational, which using their heart, should they be paired with somebody that is a little bit more on that driver side, or that somebody that's a little bit more resilient?
I would say for everybody wanting to become an entrepreneur, in the ideal world, and if I had my days again, it probably would have been to start the business, including DNA Behavior, with somebody else that was different to me. And of course, Leon, I was lucky that you came into my journey at a key time, but it wasn't at the start. But I would say that for all of us is to have somebody that is our opposite. So if you are Craig Moon and the relationship builder who's extremely creative, and you've got the right idea that you could become the king of a market segment, then I would say go for it. But you do need some of the influences around you, but that's always going to be a tension to manage that. Similarly, though, if you are more like the Mike Tudor person who's the influencer, you're going to need some relational people on your team to smooth that part out, because otherwise you could crush the team in nanoseconds just from your behavior and the way you talk and communicate, but also having someone structured for financial decision making. So to be successful as an entrepreneur, really at the end of the day, is knowing who you are, what your talents are, and then being able to manage all three dimensions of money.
Very good, Hugh. And they got some kudos on the heart, bringing the heart sort of HR.
It's very important, and I'd love to have talked a lot more about it, but I think I might confuse people a little bit. But I think, as long as that's been heard, that's a big area to explore, and you'll be hearing more from us about how that is integrated into money in the future.
Very good, Hugh. So thank you, everybody that joined us today, and you will get a short survey shortly after this call. And we will wrap up the show notes along with the presentation that'll be sent out to you tomorrow. We appreciate your attention to the webinar today. And if you have any thoughts or suggestions, please put those into the survey. With that, thank you, Hugh. Great session today.
Pleasure. Thanks, everybody, for coming.